All right, Financial Lit, we are going to talk about simple interest, and we have been talking about arithmetic sequences, and so this is just doing that kind of math really fast. So I'm going to get my little cursor here, sorry about that. So when we're talking about this is a simple interest formula, and the I is equal to interest. That is the interest. That is the interest earned. It's not what is going to be in the account altogether. It is just the interest earned on your initial deposit. The P is principal, or your starting amount, or your initial deposit. There's different ways to call it, but that's what it is. The R is your rate, and that is going to be written as a decimal. So it's your rate as a decimal. So an example of that is if we have a 2% rate, then we would need to write that as 0.02. This is what we're looking for. So be careful, that is a number one mistake that students typically make. And then T, and you probably already guessed it, is time. And that's going to be in years. So just a real quick, there it is. So when we're talking about years, there are 365 days in a year, 52 weeks, and 12 months. So in this class, these are the numbers that we're going to use for those things. So if I asked and said something like, you know, after 300 days, what would the interest be? It would be 300 over 365. That's how you would represent that in years. If it was 5 months, it would be 5 over 12, because that's 5/12 years. It would be 365 years. That's how you would do it. So I'm just throwing that out there because it's going to come up, and I want to make sure that you guys are ready for that. So make sure you get that in your notes. Hit pause if you need to. Okay, so we're going to do our first example with Mitchell, and he's going to deposit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing out what I know. So I know the principal is $1,200 because that's my initial amount. The rate is 0.015 because it's 1.5%. And it says the amount after 3 years. So the time is equal to 3. So then we're just going to plug all of that in. So we get 1,200. So remember, our formula is I is Purdy. I is equal to PRT. So we're going to plug it in. So there's my P. My rate is 0.015. And the time. And I think you get $54. So that is just the interest. But the question is asking, how much is in the account after 3 years? Well, it doesn't make sense that if I originally deposited $1,200 and I didn't make any deposits or withdrawals, I'd only have $54 if that's what it's earning. So I need to add. So the total amount of an account is equal to the interest, the simple interest, plus the principal. So then my answer to this question is going to be $1,254.00. And then that would be my final answer. So we are only going to be talking about the simple interest formula. Here it is broken up in color. So if you prefer color, I've got principal and represented in blue, rate in green, so that you can see where I got everything. You're going to hit pause here and get this in your notes. Okay, so if we're talking about how much simple interest is earned on this, we're just going to break it down the same way we would break it down. So P is equal to 4,000, R is equal to 0.012. Just a real quick, if you're ever not sure about how to break that up, you can take a percent, so 1.2, and divide it by 100, and it'll give you the decimal. So that would be 0.012. So that's how you can do that. Just in case you want to check your math, make sure you have enough zeros, or if there's sometimes when we have like 2%, we're not sure if the zero goes out in front or not. So that's a way for you to check. All right, so our time is 3.5, and I'm going to write it as a decimal just because it's a little bit easier. And then we end up with 4,000 times that. This one was only asking how much interest was going to be earned, and so my final answer is just 168. So that is how you would do that one. How much simple interest is earned? So this one's asking the same kind of question. So go ahead and set this up in your note, hit pause, and then we will get to the answer. So hopefully you caught that we had a $2,000 principal with a rate of 0.02 or 0.02, and our time was 7/12. And then if you type this in your TI-84, or if you're using Desmos, so desmos.com, you could type it exactly the way you see it. That 7/12 will go right in, and then you will get an answer. If you found a decimal approximation of this, you may get a rounding error, and you might not have gotten 23.3333333. So that's the other thing. This goes on forever. This repeats forever. And so we need to be careful that we're rounding to the nearest penny. So this 3 after here told me that this 3 would stay the same. Okay, so now this one's a little bit different. This one we have to set up. We don't know what the principal is. It says how much principal must be deposited. I don't know. But we do know the rate. The rate is that 0.013, and it says it's going to be 2 years, so we have a time, which is 2, and then we actually know what our interest is. It's going to be $1,000 because it's saying how much money do I need to deposit to earn $1,000 at this rate for this time. So this is where we're going to keep using the same formula, and I'm just going to plug in the things that I know. I know that it's 1,000. And it's going to be equal to P, I don't know what it is, but I know it's going to be equal to that, times my rate, 0.013, times 2. So then we just solve this like we would any other linear equation that we probably learned in 8th grade. So we get 1,000 is equal to, well, I'm going to multiply those numbers to figure out what they are, and I don't remember what they are. They're 2 times 0.013. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh, duh. This is the 3rd time I've done that. I know what 2 times 0.013 is. Okay, so the principal times 0.026. So now I have an unknown variable times a number. Well, how do I isolate an unknown? I divide. I do the opposite of what's happening to it because it's being multiplied. So if I divide by 0.026, then this becomes one of those big ones that we learned about in Algebra 2, or functions. But if I do that on this side, I have to do it on this side. So 0.026, and we end up with, yeah, we end up with $38,461.54. And I know that it's 54 because this is actually 0.538, and this 8 right here tells me that I need to round this number up. So that is how you do that. So I did the same thing. Again, this is in color just to show you so you can see it in color. If you want to hit pause, you can. Okay, so this one is one where you're just finding the simple interest. So go ahead and hit pause, and I'd like to see how you set this one up. Good job if this is what you got. So make sure you have 800 as your principal. Your rate is 0.0171. Something that happened in class a lot was that students forgot to convert this to a decimal. This formula doesn't work if you don't convert it to a decimal. And then we have 300 over 365. And again, you can leave it just like this, and you'll end up with an answer. Go ahead. This one is another one where you're solving for the principal. So if you would like to do this one, okay. So this one is a little bit different. So I want to go over this one. This one is saying that we have a principal of $910. We know our rate is 0.021. We don't know our time. That we're figuring out. And then it says our interest. Now we wanted to earn 1,000, but we want it to grow. We want the final account to grow. And remember, the total amount was interest plus principal equals the total amount. So then what we would need to do is just to find the interest is we need to subtract the principal. So that's what we're going to do here. So to find what we need, we're going to do 1,000 minus 910, which is equal to 90. So now we have all the parts we need to solve, and then this is just like it was before. So 90 is equal to our principal times our rate times time. And then we just need to solve. So go ahead and hit pause and try to solve that on your own. Okay, so now I multiplied those two numbers, I divided, and I ended up with approximately the time being about 4.7 years. Okay, so the last one I want to talk about is something that got tripped up last semester. A lot of students got tripped up by the wording in this, so I want to make sure we understand. So we're solving for time, and so my principal for this is $10,000, because that's what it says, how long with $10,000, and then my rate is 11%, so 0.11, 0.11, and then my time is what I'm solving for, because it's asking me how long. And then my interest, well, it's asking me to double it. So how much would my interest need to be? Well, it would need to be $10,000 if I'm going to double it. So 10,000 plus 10,000. So then we would just set it up the way that we have been and put the numbers that we know and then solve. Oops. Times 11. Or times 0.11 times t, and then we would solve for t. So if you want to hit pause and solve for that, and we will check your answer. Okay, again, and then I just worked through all of that, and you should have got approximately 9.09 years. Okay, so now you should be set. You should be able to do the worksheet 2.3b. I'm going to post that on Monday, and you should be ready to go. So have a great day, have a good weekend, and I will see all of you next week.